wait till it says online. Hi, everyone, and welcome. This is Krishna Priya. This is the Human Colony Hucolo webinar. It's Saturday, the 28th of September 2024, and we have back with us after, I think it's almost 1 year, Lou
March.
Martin. Okay, 6 months ago, we have our wonderful friend, Lou Martin. How are you, Lou? Good to see you.
Thank you. I'm okay.
I am the earth, but you are above the earth. So, you know, and the reason I don't have my camera on is because I'm saving bandwidth because I'm coming to you live from India, but on my iPad, which is a different animal for me to be working with. So, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah, every time I see photos of you, you're singing somewhere, or you know, you're doing a lot of live gigs now.
Yes, it's true. I'm getting busy. This month has been the busiest I've been in quite a while.
Oh yeah. So do you play like gigs in pubs, or are you doing mostly like outdoor stuff? Because I've seen both.
Yeah, not so many pubs. I've done a couple pubs, but we have a farmers market on Saturday, so I just sang there this morning. And there's a senior center here and special needs center, and I sing for them once a month, and I did that on Friday. And so yeah, and there's a Course in Miracles group from the States, and they have me on as the music every second week for the next 4 months. So that's a joy.
Oh, that's really cool. So you're
Thank
doing
you.
that over the internet.
Yes. And I've also been invited to record an album with my buddy Ian Morris, who has a record label called Listening to Smile. .com, and we're also doing a monthly magazine, which I'm involved with, and a podcast, which I'm also getting involved with. So things have gotten busy.
Is that for music, or is that a spiritual thing, or is it a both, or what is
it's all the above. It's community, consciousness, creativity, all of those good things. I just did an interview with one of my Course in Miracles teachers, Maureen Muldoon, which is on my Awakened Spirits network.
We are now live with Takir.
So sorry, I was trying to
right.
open the YouTube. Go ahead.
No worries.
Yeah.
And Ian's going to put that on his site, and he has 18,000 followers on YouTube and 40,000 on Instagram.
Oh, that's wonderful. I know that
nice.
You've talked about Maureen before.
Mm-hmm.
You quote her sometimes.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of meeting her. She came out to Ireland because she's friends with the Course in Miracles people out here. That's how we connected. They introduced me to her online, and then we met in person, as I said, about 6 weeks ago, and that connected me with the Course in Miracles group here. So I joined that group, and I've been studying the Course daily every morning for the last month or so, and that's the first time in my life I've done that, and that's been a great blessing.
Oh, well, let's talk about that, because I definitely want to hear your, because that was one of the first things that I ever really dealt with. You know, it is such a sacred book. I can't say that I've gotten very far in it, but I did study the first few chapters of it. I'm the kind of person I read the first. I don't want to. I'll tell you after we do blessings. Let's start there. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Okay.
So, all right. Why don't we do blessings? We'll do Dawn, Wendy, and then Michael. And if Angie, you want to interpret, if there's anything to interpret, are you there? Okay, I think she's still getting coffee. So we'll just do the blessings and then we'll come back to you. Just hold tight. If you guys want to turn on your camera, please do. And that would be great. If not, you just let me know. Not, I'm going to spotlight Lou. Okay, Dawn's got, okay, everyone. Wendy doesn't have hers on, but that's okay. All right, take it away. Take it away, Dawn. You're welcome.
Arotushina economist wana suota ishitnaniaku mane akatia moitaya. Kisha elyoita shitna ale kushna he. Ziano me economy se. Tiena ka lasha anahuite. Toko asana te eka nashe. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Wendy?
Ku ini iran yu rit ni shishuanya atanya I kedunya mara Yeah, so hui na naira. That you shugudni ma ni oro ishana ta to nya mama eta you to unyu so era nara ta ichi to ka pati mama to ya. Also, I can interpret myself.
Okay.
The world that is around you may be in chaos. It is time for you to come into your heart, to pray for this world, to be in love for everyone, to open your minds, your hearts, your bodies to the energies that are coming in to flow through you. This is the time to find peace in the chaos. Know thyself, and you will be a blessing no matter what divisions you may see around you.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Michael, whenever you're ready.
Yes. Well, makatai so ti makaan tim sakai utam so itu noin isko ka mata city ta ai utama well ki tu la ya sama ka ikuta pi papa in ko to sukiti ka o alaya ya isemate ko tu ya yo ya yo sakai zamuta te ya.
Beautiful. It's nice to see light language flowing out of you so nicely and so easily.
No, thank you.
All right. So I'm going to ask you to turn off your camera and then I can put Lou full screen, I think. I can spotlight him. I may not be able to, so, but I just want to make sure that gallery view. Where's Lou? And I do apologize for this taking time. I'm just want to check on YouTube. I think you're the only one showing, so that would make it all right. Yeah. Let's see. It's switching back and forth between the two of us as we're talking, so I do apologize for that. All right. How do I spotlight you on this? Host tools. Hide all profile pictures. Okay. All right, well, it seems like that should work then. Then it should just be you. So, Lou, Martin, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so since we talked in March, you've started doing Course in Miracles every day. How long has that been going on? For the last month?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what do you find with that for
Well,
you?
this is maybe my fourth time looking, to connect with this. It's a very dense, it's 1,000 pages long.
Yeah.
It took them 7 years to channel it from Jesus. So yeah, it's ideal to do it in a small group on a daily basis. And just, what I want to say, Krishna Priya, is it's the grace, it just seems to be flowing very, very nicely in my direction at the moment. I'm truly grateful. And so, my joke is, when opportunity knocks, open the door. And
That's for sure.
Clearly, to get to meet Maureen was a delight, and to hang out with everyone. And we did some music and singing and all that the Saturday night. And then the same thing Sunday morning, after breakfast, we were singing and dancing in the kitchen. And I'm like, wow, this is nice. I don't get this in my bedroom every day. This is the kind of energy I like. And so, yeah, I was able to do it. And I paid for 3 months. It's only €1 a day. It's really quite reasonable. And the teacher is wonderful. This is Mia Sarah Williams, who I knew years ago. When I wrote my first ebook, The Invitation, she came out and interviewed me. This is when I was living at John Cully's house, and it was a lovely connection. So she's now become a daily feature of my life, and she's very inspiring as well. So I'm really grateful.
I'll tell you what struck me, and there's been a couple books that I have picked up over the years that this happened with, where I read like the first few pages, and I had such an epiphany just in the first few pages, that after that it kind of stopped. Do you know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
read, I got into it. So the thing about that I like in Course in Miracles, where it says, this is a Course in Miracles. It is a required course.
Right.
Only the moment that you take it is up to you.
Yes.
And then it goes on to say it will be taken by everyone. And then it says, nothing that is real, nothing that is, what is it? Nothing that is real can be destroyed.
Yeah,
What
nothing.
What is it saying?
Let me help you. You're doing well. You're doing well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists.
Right. Herein lies the peace of God.
There it is.
That's it. So say it, and I won't interrupt you. Go ahead.
All right, dear. Bless your heart. I'm glad you're so excited. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God.
Yeah, and that hit me like a lightning bolt.
Yeah.
You know,
because it's the truth.
Right. Exactly. And so that was so real and visceral for me. Like when I get truth, I kind of, my head kind of explodes, and I, have a visceral feeling in my body. And it's like I just absorb that energy of that truth. And then the rest of the book, as I started reading it, made sense, but none of it mattered as much as that to me. I felt like, I thought if I can understand, and what my guide said to me is that you get that, you've got the whole gist of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so
it's Jesus saying to live in the world, but not of it.
Right.
Or my guides have said, reality is a paradox.
Right. Right. And in Hinduism, they say, you are never born, you never die, you're eternal, but you're wrapped in Maya. You're wrapped in the illusion. It's sticky. You believe it's true, but it's not true. You are not the body, So there's so many other things that say it, but the way that that's said, I feel is particularly beautiful. And I also like the first part where they say that miracles are the norm.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Yes. If a miracle hasn't happened, something's wrong.
Right. Because miracles are the
natural expression of love.
Right. So, but to explain what the word miracle means, as opposed to everyone thinks a miracle is something highly unusual.
Yes.
As opposed to usual.
Yes. Well, it is. You're setting it up quite nicely. I have to thank you for this.
Okay. I think you're going to talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Well, fine by me. Let's share what you've been studying. Okay, that's easy. A miracle is the natural expression of God's love in our life, and since we are God and we are love, the only thing that can stop that from happening is the ego mind that is in fear and judgment. So when Jesus says this is required, in order for us to wake up from the illusion and come back to the truth, in order for us not to be trapped in time and space, but to come back to spirit, we need to remember that we are love and we are God, and God will help us to remember how to create lovingly. And the more we forgive, release judgment, trust, etc., devote ourselves to God's will, all of that, there's a lot of surrendering to God's will in the course, the easier it gets and the more graceful things become.
Yeah. There was a big discussion a while ago. Someone kept asking the same question, and it dawned on me why they were asking the question. And they kept saying, well, why do I have to follow God's will? What about my will? Why am I supposed to follow God's will? And the answer was, well, your true will is God's will, because you are in fact God.
Yes.
So it's not like you have to give up anything, but until you realize who you truly are, you always feel like you're separate from that will.
Exactly.
You always be looking to, what does that will want from me? But basically, you recognizing the truth of who you are awakens you to the true will of the larger part of you. So
yes, Go on.
No. So what I was going to ask you is like how in Course in Miracles does that? How is that stated about surrendering to the truth of who you are and realizing your divine nature?
Right. So the whole thing is about, so there's discernment and there's judgment. There's our will and God's will. There are all these paradoxes, over and over again. There's the struggle of the world and the surrender of heaven and God's peace and all that. So the role that Jesus plays in the Course in Miracles, as I understand it, is he's the reminder that there is another way, and you don't have to believe in Jesus as a person or as a spiritual icon or any of those things, which is a relief for me, honestly, about picking sides and choosing teams. I find that rather a distraction. But that here's our brother who has managed to do what we came here to learn to do, and he will help us learn to do it. And so as we do these daily exercises of quieting the mind, of opening our hearts, of forgiving, of blessing, of releasing control, releasing agendas, releasing the ego, all of those things, we keep coming back to peace, to grace, and then the natural flow of life, which is loving and abundant and miraculous, begins to reveal itself to us.
It's beautiful. And I will say that when I did do the lessons and the meditations, you do feel very peaceful. It is a very calming, centering view that you adapt, as opposed to a sort of because you realize there's not that much you have to do. It's just about being and allowing and trusting, as opposed to, I mean, there is action obviously, but at least in the first 10 to 15, it's really about calming and recentering. And I would just say to anyone who's maybe interested and maybe wants to join Lou on his Course in Miracles journey, it is a beautiful study to pick up. And I wish I had studied it more, but I'm kind of busy with other things. But I always come back to it. It's sitting there, and I'm always looking at it. And I know it's a beautiful dance that I want to do with that teaching. But for anyone who's not read it at all, it's quite enlightening, and it's not dogmatic, and it's not a religion at all. It's a philosophy of truth for who we are, and it's just quite a fantastic thing. So can you tell everyone the story of Course in Miracles and how it came to be?
Yes, happy to do it. So this was channeled by two people together. Helen Schuckman was a psychology professor, I believe, at State University of New York, and her partner is a gentleman named Bill Thetford, and he was the scribe. And so Helen was in despair one day because of all the political infighting and egos bashing around in academia, and she wasn't having any fun at all. And she asked God, she said in her prayers, there must be a better way to live than this. And sure enough, she has a dream that night, and Jesus pops into her dream and said, I'd like to help you. I'd like you to do something for me in exchange. I will help you solve your problem if you're interested. And so she said yes, and she agreed to be the channel for the course, and here we are. It took 7 years for them to create it. It was published in 1977.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was written in between 1968 and 1975 or so, 4 or something.
Is that
like
right?
that?
Yeah. Is that
something like that?
date? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's quite remarkable, and it's modern day, which is so beautiful. And it doesn't challenge. If you understand the course as it is meant to be understood, it doesn't challenge anybody's religion. It expands. your understanding, because it shifts your perspective to a much higher perspective. That's what I would
Yes.
say.
Well, I have
Yeah.
today's lesson in front of me. Will I
Oh, yeah, for sure.
we'll push the boat out all the way here and see what people think?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So it's like you do a lesson a day. There are 365 lessons. And as I say, to me, I sat in many groups, 3 or 4 groups for, 6 months, a year, something like that, which is great. But it was weekly. It wasn't daily. So this, as I say, all came to me on a silver platter. So I couldn't say no. And I'm so glad I said yes. So today we're on lesson 69. And
Okay.
it's my grievances hide the light of the world in me. And if you want to do it on your computer, it's acim.org, A Course in Miracles.org. And then you can find it's in the text, the workbook rather, and it's lesson 69. So it says here, no one can look upon what your grievances conceal, because your grievances are hiding the light of the world in you. Everyone stands in darkness, and you beside him. But as the veil of your grievances is lifted, you are released with him. Share your salvation now with him who stood beside you when you were in hell. He is your brother in light. He is your brother in the light of the world that saves you both. So, I'll just jump in right here. This is a theme that is really so empowering. If you can get this one thing from today's conversation, your life will never be the same. That by bringing peace to my life, I've set the world free. And by holding on to, I've fulfilled my purpose. But by holding on to pain or fear or anger or judgment, whatever, I'm holding the world prisoner, because the world can only be the reflection of what I'm willing to accept for myself, which is just earth-shaking, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
the world, you are reflecting out. The thing is that if we think about God in his entirety, in order to experience itself, it had to create separation.
Exactly.
But it did not, but God did not actually separate fully. It sort of created a vacuum within itself to sort of step back and then observe. But it can only observe itself from what is reflected from it. So
Right.
if you're holding on to anger and pain and judgment and all of those things, that's all you're going to see in the world, because that is the reflection of you.
Yes.
And so in order to see the world in a more beautiful way, in order for things to start moving in a more beautiful way, you release that so that your world starts to reflect that you that isn't angry, that isn't full of pain, that isn't full of resentment.
Right.
It's not absolute. Of course, there's shards of light, and we're talking about one thought versus a complete absolute thought. But your world definitely gets brighter when you learn to forgive and to move on and to release these pains that we have.
Yes, exactly. And to realize that is actually our purpose. Like you're saying, God created what we call the illusion of separation. Like there's a lot of discussion of the world being a simulation or a computer program or the matrix. And you touched on something that it's taken me a long time to begin to understand, which is we created this with God, so that we could make these choices and grow back into a fuller expression of God and love in this illusion of separation, ending the illusion and healing the separation.
Well, in the world of matter, which is where we exist, we can only perceive. It's just like with our own 2 eyes. Our 2 eyes are made to perceive separation. They're made to perceive duality. And in the world of matter, that's what exists. But that's not the true nature of ourselves. But in order to have the experience, we have to use our 2 eyes, our 2 ears, and we only can hear what's around us reflected. We can't even see ourselves with our own 2 eyes. We have to have a mirror, and the whole world is a mirror. So I mean,
Yes.
it makes sense within the scheme of how we're created in the first place. That's why with our inner eye is that which can perceive oneness, but our external eyes, they can't. They're not
Right.
made to. That's the way that it goes. I would like it if you could maybe describe what you mean by hell in this description.
Well, so yeah, the Course says, there's no heaven or hell after this life. This is as much heaven or hell as you'll ever experience. And so basically, hell is fear and the belief in the validity of separation and in the arguing for our limitations,
Right.
and living in fear and judgment, basically. And of course, judgment and fear, as far as the Course is concerned, are the same thing. Not
Right.
discernment, different, but judgment. These people are always this, I'm always that, etc. And heaven is here as well. And how we find that is by opening ourselves up to the perfect peace and unconditional love that is there within us and for us when we stop judging ourselves and each other and ask to be forgiven. There's the phrase in the Course is the atonement, which is, or also at one-ment. And, this is this surrender that we're all reaching for, in this lifetime of lifetimes, as my guides say, to come back to ourselves and to know ourselves. What's the great line from T.S. Eliot about you come back to where you started and this time you understand where you're at, yeah, the wasteland, I think it is. So, to understand who we are from God's perspective, not just from the world's perspective, then everything becomes an opportunity to love and to heal and to forgive and to bless.
Yes. I was thinking of a woman that I spoke to very recently, doing a reading for her.
Yeah.
And her question was very interesting because she said, why am I not good enough to ever succeed in what I'm doing? And I said, well, first of all,
ouch.
Yeah, I said, well, first of all, you being good enough is not relevant to your success in your work job. She said, I try so hard and I'm never good enough. And I said, well, that's a belief that you're holding about yourself, but it's not true. And your value has nothing to do with whether or not you have a good job or whatever. So I really talked to her about, separating the idea of her value to what she's doing and the circumstances that go on in our life, because they are separate and they're not, sometimes circumstances are hard, but that doesn't mean we're not good enough. That doesn't mean that we're not deserving. That doesn't mean that we're awful people. But she was really equating like what she perceived to be an unhappy job with her own self-worth value.
Right.
And so much of us, say that about relationships. Why am I not good enough to be loved by somebody? Why am I not good enough for this? Don't I deserve that? And of course you do. And at the same time, they're in no way related.
Well, yes and no. Again, it's this paradox, what we believe about ourselves, we have to reflect out into our life, has to be reflected out into our life and our relationships.
Right. That's what I mean.
All we're here for really is relationship.
Right.
We can only understand ourselves in the mirror of our relationships, like you were saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
But if you walk around with the self-talk about I'm never good enough and nothing's ever working out for me, and I try, that's always defeating.
Of course.
And we say so many, she said in that conversation, I wish I'd written it down, but she said so many hurtful things to herself that I could imagine, like, yeah, of course you're depressed because you're just jabbing yourself.
You're beating yourself up all day. Yeah.
Every day, all day. Why am I not good out? Nothing's working out for me. I never, people that say, I never this, I never that, you're creating the belief and the self-fulfilling, self-limiting belief that nothing ever works out for you, and if you say it enough, you believe it. And she was really convinced of so much of her own limitation that was I'm sure she had evidence of it, but it was still,
Oh,
it
yes.
was hard to listen to because it made me sad. Because
Well,
I
let
thought,
me,
wow,
yeah. So here's this. This is my favorite prayer recently. I wanted to throw this here at some point. Let me just throw this in right now for the point you're making. Okay. So
Yeah.
this is the Lord's Prayer. That I may have done this last time.
Yes, but it was beautiful. So please do
Yes.
it again.
Good,
Yeah.
good, good. I need to memorize it. That's on my list. So here we go. This is to clean our side of the glass and to know that we are truly good enough. So it's the Lord's Prayer translated from the Aramaic to English. O cosmic birther of all radiance and vibration, soften the ground of our being and carve out a space within us where your presence can abide. Fill us with your creativity so that we may be empowered to bear the fruit of your mission. Let each of our actions bear fruit in accordance with our desire. Endow us with the wisdom to produce and share what each being needs to grow and flourish. Untie the tangled threads of destiny that bind us as we release others from the entanglement of past mistakes. Do not let us be seduced by that which would divert us from our true purpose, but illuminate the opportunities of the present moment. For you are the ground and the fruitful vision, the birth, power, and fulfillment, as all is gathered and made whole once again. And so it is. Amen.
Amen. It's beautiful.
Yes.
So empowering and so beautiful.
Yes, yes, exactly. I'm just saying that, yeah, whatever we tell ourselves or speak or put into the ethers, that's, as you and I probably and everyone here are seeing, that's happening faster and faster these days.
Yeah.
So
that is
it's
for sure.
Deliberate. It's good to be deliberate.
Yes, because interesting, like when you talk about words and spelling, I mean, spelling a word, it's creating an energy, it's creating a signature, and whatever words you choose to use, they are creating an energy signature in the universe that is causing an effect.
Right.
And so
right.
carefully choosing what you say, knowing that you are really literally creating in that moment.
Yes.
So as you say something, even off the cuff statements, sure. there was a I don't know if you remember this, but there was a time in the sort of later 80s where people would walk around and they, in the spiritual world, they'd say something, then they'd be like, cancel.
Yeah.
They started to, they were realizing the power of words, and then they would try to pull them back really quick or cancel them out or something like that. But, and that whole think before you speak is also a very good terminology. But if I would just encourage like anyone who'd be willing to try it just for your morning or just for the rest of the day, today, or maybe tomorrow, whatever you want to do it, be very deliberate in your speech, knowing that your words can create and your words can destroy.
Yeah, and they are creating.
Yes, and that they can also, destroy as well. And so if you look at every phrase you utter as either handing someone a beautiful gift or handing them, pain, or handing them your pain, because you're not actually, but maybe they're accepting it. You don't want them to. But what I'm saying is try to use your words today to hand someone something very beautiful and uplifting. And the words that you say to yourself as well. Try to give yourself something very beautiful and loving and well thought out.
Yes.
And creative. Yeah.
Yes. No, it's really true. And the more you play with it, the more you realize how true it is. And, since we are God and we are love and we are sons and daughters of God, and we're made in the image and likeness from God. And, our purpose is, like, I love Abraham's quote. I probably said this as well. The basis of life is freedom. The purpose of life is joy. So when we're moving in the direction of, like, your wonderful service with the dogs and all the things that you've done, Krishna Priya, and holding the space for this group here all these years, all the things that you do, that you're guided to do, and everyone here who supports that, that is seeding, grace and seeding love and seeding abundance and health and all of that. So the only thing that can cut that off is when we, turn against ourselves. When we, as you said, if we can be kind and merciful and loving and forgiving and accepting, a lot of what you were saying earlier, how we beat up on ourselves sometimes out of pain and fear and desperation and despair and hopelessness and anxiety, that just closes the spigot, that just closes the fire hose of love and healing and light. So, we when we can open it up again. So what I want to say is to bless, what's the prayer? Jesus says, bless your enemies because you have none. So, the other political party that you might be screaming at on this from the screen from time to time, if you're anything like me, bless them, give them back to God. Ask God to show you the higher purpose of them showing up in your life, et cetera, et cetera. The more we play with these things, the more easily they begin to show up in our experience.
Yeah. So much is saying yes. So much is just saying yes to the flow of everything and just being willing to see it through. I don't know why this is popping in my head. I'll share this and I know you want to share something as well. But have you read Be Here Now by Baba Ram Dass? Baba Ram Dass. Did you ever read that?
I was literally preparing to tell you a story about Ram Dass when you just said that.
Really? So we're
Yes.
okay, so cool. My story is going to be way different than your story.
Okay.
But I because this is something that's no, because your story is going to stay in the theme of what we're talking about. But I don't know why I wanted to tell you this story, but I just wanted to.
Yeah, there you go.
So what's really interesting is that here in India, for whatever reason right now, there seems to be a lot of people coming. There always are, but that I've encountered. And I started to have this connection to Ram Dass's book, Be Here Now, which I'd read years ago and I've reread several times and I love it and I loved him and etc. But when he's talking about people's experience when they first come to India and how he was kind of so bewildered and fascinated and how the Krishna Das dragged him from room to room and they'd bring him in front of the guru and they'd force him down and he kind of lay there and he wasn't sure what was happening and then he'd be scooped up and shoved off somewhere else and then taken somewhere and they give him food and he's just bewildered by the whole thing, but at the same time so overcome by the energy of India and this enlightened master that he was meeting and all of these things. And just the last couple of weeks, there's been a couple people that I have met that have come to the ashram and they've said, oh, this person's coming, can you go meet them and show them around and whatever. And I've gone and I'm like, I'm Krishna Priya and this is where you eat and this is what you do and here come into the guru and then I kind of shove them in front of the guru and then as they're sort of laying in front of the guru like they don't know what to do, so I pick them up and then I drag them out and I give them water and then I take them to the arti, which is the musical thing, and I sit them down and it's just, but watching them absorb all this energy and I just connected so much to what Ram Dass was saying about the Westerner coming to India and being so unfamiliar with the customs, but at the same time completely blown away by them. And there was a guy and he was from Iran and he was a Muslim who had become a Hindu, which is, in a Muslim country, that's not always looked upon very well.
No, dear. That's quite a choice. Yeah.
Yeah. So he came and he could barely speak English. So I could talk to him through Google Translate on my phone. And right. And so I was writing to him. I'm like, no, come sit in darshan darshan means when you sit in the presence of the guru, just receive his blessing. And you can just sit there and actually talk to him, or you can just sit there. And so he came and I pushed him down to sit down. I shoved him in front of Puja Swamiji and I just showed him bow down. and he bowed down, and I said, Swamiji, I said, he's from Iran. He doesn't speak any English, but he really just wanted to come here. And Puja Swamiji just put his hand on his shoulder, and this man just melted. He just all the tears and all of the fears of like wanting to be in the presence of an enlightened master, and then getting to do it and no one understanding anything. And but
Right.
it was so, and usually people kind of move people out really fast, and Swamiji said no, let him stay, because he realized like this guy was so special. But then it was my job to kind of scoop him up, and I dragged him out, and I took him to the canteen, and I handed him a cup of water. And then I said, he's like, oh, and I said, you can, I typed back to him, you can come every day, it's no problem. And it was just so beautiful to like have the experience and realize like Ram Dass had that experience, and that just to see people for the first time like stand on Ganga with their feet in the water and have that feeling of grace and blessing come over them, and just I don't know, so that's what my Ram Dass. It's not really about Ram Dass, but the fact that he wrote about it, and that I was really recognizing it this last couple of weeks with different people.
Yeah, I mean, since I literally was drawing a breath to tell you a story about Ram Dass, you can imagine. I'm impressed, and people should take that for what it's worth. Yeah, so I mean, let me just back this up and add a little to what you're saying here, which is perfect. So Ram Dass was this very successful Harvard psychology professor.
Right.
Who grew up in a wealthy Jewish family in Boston, like a Boston Brahmin kind of family. They were very well-to-do, and he felt quite the young prince, in his early years. And but he was quite restless and bored with everything. He played the cello, he played tennis, he dated a lot of lovely people, but it just wasn't ringing his bell. And so I think he had the experiences of Tim Leary introducing him to LSD.
Yes, he did.
At Harvard, right? And I got to meet both of these guys, which was a real privilege, because they were big figures in my early days of spiritual seeking. And so anyway, Ram Dass eventually gets invited to go to India, and I think Krishna Das did have a lot to do with that, if I remember correctly. But so he gets
Krishna Das is who he met. Krishna Das is who he met when he got over there.
He met him there. Okay, very good. Yeah, I got to meet him as well, which was joy. But so Ram Dass goes to India, and he's going to meet this enlightened teacher. And the night his mother had just passed away recently, and that night, as he's going to bed, he's looking up at the stars and thinking about his mother. Right, this one. And the next day, he goes to Babaji and meets him, and bows and all this, and very cynical and very suspicious, and think he's a con man and the whole thing. And Babaji, the first thing Babaji said to him is, "You were thinking of your mother last night, looking at the stars."
Yeah,
and that got his attention. But so the story that I just heard yesterday, a day or two ago, was I mean, I love telling that story. Krishna Das said that Baba had said to Ram Dass, "You're a saint and you're not to handle money." And so he had someone in the ashram who carried the money for Ram Dass. And they went on a trip 3 hours away from the ashram, and Ram Dass had been asleep, and he woke up and everyone was gone. But they left him a note to come and join them, and he couldn't find a ride. So he had to walk 3 hours to find the group, and steam coming off his head, this proud man and educated man, and why is he being treated like this, and all this. And he gets there, and the man who was in charge of holding on to his money handed him a plate of food, and Ram Dass threw it in the man's face. He was so angry about all this. And Babaji goes, "Ram Dass, something wrong?" And Ram Dass just explodes, about how he's being treated and this whole thing. And then, of course, he's in a flood of tears, seeing the bigger picture before he knows it. And that's when Babaji says to him, "Love everyone and serve everyone." And then Ram Dass says, "But I don't love everyone, Babaji." And Babaji's like, love everyone, serve everyone. And so the end of it was Krishna Das saying, as we all know who followed him, by the end of his life, Ram Dass was loving everyone. And Krishna Das told that after his stroke, which there's a great film about that, I think it's called Savage Grace, documentary about,
Yes.
right? Yeah, you've seen
Yes.
that? Okay.
Yes.
And so, but what Krishna Das was saying, which I hadn't heard, was for the last 20 years of his life, he was in a wheelchair, and evidently his kidneys were failing quite a lot, and he had to be rushed to the ER many times, and it was no picnic the last few decades of his life. But yeah, he was just such an inspiration, an extraordinary person who really, was one of those people that opened the East to the West in India for millions of people.
Millions and millions. I wrote to Ram Dass after he had a stroke.
Okay.
Because my father had had a stroke.
Oh.
And I just wrote to sort of, give him encouragement. And he actually wrote me back. He wrote back, and I was trying to see if I could, because it was in Facebook, he wrote back, and I was trying to see if I still had
right.
had the thing. But basically he just said, it's just another, he said, this is just another existence of grace that I'm experiencing.
Yes.
But it was really nice, and he wished my father well and everything. And it was just a very nice exchange. I actually knew someone who was his one of the people who was his personal cooks out in Hawaii.
Yeah.
A woman named Michelle, and she, as he got towards the end of his life, they would just sort of take turns staying with him.
Right.
So,
yeah.
But he was such a beautiful soul, and his,
yes.
The book that he wrote about Neem Karoli Baba called Love, Serve, Remember.
Yes,
is actually that. in our canteen.
Right.
They have that as a sign, Love, Serve, Remember. And there's a very kind of popular vegan restaurant in LA, in
Venice.
Venice, yeah. And the restaurant's called Love, Serve, Remember.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a very, I mean, that's it. Love, serve, and remember. Remember who you are. Love everyone. Serve. I mean, that's pretty much says it all. So that's really cool. We thought about Ram Dass at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, this is, to me, everyone who's on this call, and hearing these stories, this is what we're really being called into. The astrologers, the channels, the people that I respect and trust and listen to, are basically of one voice saying, there are big changes coming to the world soon. And, this has to do, to my mind, with, releasing humanity from this spell of fear and lack and unworthiness and all of that we're talking about here. So, my prayer for all of us would be, myself included, to take this to heart. I really believe there is a split energetically happening on the planet that's just going to get more noticeable, between people that are willing to live in love and remember who we are, and those that are unready to do that, or unable to do that, or unwilling to do that, not out of judgment, but just because in order for the earth to continue to fulfill its function, this is what Patricia Cota-Robles, talks about with the fifth dimensional crystalline solar light body and the suns beyond suns and the ascended masters. She's had us working with divine government quite a lot. That's my article in Ian's magazine for October. We do have a role to play, is what I'm reaching for here. And it is not, to be sacrificed on the altar of anything. It's to love, serve, and remember, to treat others the way we want to be treated, and to know that we also deserve to be fed, clothed, housed, and supported. That there's enough for everyone is the message here. And if we're willing to remember that, they will move heaven and earth to bless us and help us bless each other. I really do believe that.
I have to tell you something just happened just now in real time.
That's handy.
I wanted to see if I just went into Messenger to see if I could find the letter that I wrote
Yeah.
to Ram
Yes.
Dass.
Yeah.
But that's not what popped up. What popped
Okay.
up is something, a post that I wrote in a group called Conscious Evolution 2.0, which was a group that was started around the same time I had my radio show called About Oneness.
Yes, I remember
And
the name. Yeah.
yeah, so this was written on October 5th, 2013. So almost 11 years ago.
Yes.
And I say, I've been thinking a lot about my life, my role in this life. I wonder about my wish to be a true servant of God. Is it enough to simply chant mantras and sing songs to my deity? In some ways, yes, but how do I walk this planet? What is the impact of my footsteps? If I truly see the oneness of all beings, and there is no me or them, but only us. The us includes everyone, and not those I deem to be worthy, not only those that live their lives like me or say yes to the things I say yes to. Equality is inherent in oneness. And then I go, and I just said Ram Dass, whose words I've been revisiting of late. Isn't that funny? That's what caught my eye and made me better read this.
Hello.
Said something, I guess he's with us, which is awesome. Said
Clearly.
something very beautiful. And the reason I'm finding it now again means probably I'm ready to hear it.
That's
Maybe
gorgeous.
we're ready to hear it. He says,
dear.
instead
Wow.
of averting your eyes from pain and suffering, turn around and embrace it into yourself without being afraid of who you're going to be drowned by, because you know you can say no without closing your heart.
Wow.
These are all part of the pieces of the beautiful service that a yogi is. Be willing to look at the grossest, most hellish misery on the planet. Be willing to embrace it, all of it. Learn how to keep your heart open in hell.
Yes.
You have to be able to look at all and say, yes, I acknowledge it, without being so busy reacting to it that you don't see its necessity and place in the game of the universe. Now the question is, how do I serve?
Right. Beautiful.
Yeah, I just like, okay, Ram Dass, I hear you. I see you. I mean, come on. That's funny, right?
Well, my joke is it's almost like there's a higher power at work.
Yeah, almost.
We know that there is, of course. And the thing is, it's infinitely graceful and endlessly amusing and creative, you know.
So lovely. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Incredible, gorgeous.
How did I find that? That's so amazing. Like, I don't even remember writing that.
Well, you're making my point very nicely, if I may say, you know, that there are these parallel realities. I was listening to a channel talk about timelines. This new lady, and but she'd had a near-death experience and was seen, you know, shown many different parallel realities, and you know, saying there were some tricky ones out there and some better ones out there, and that basically, you know, the like Patricia Cota-Robles talks about the holy innocence, and that the children 20 years and younger have come from, you know, a really powerful place in the spiritual cosmos, if you like, and they're really striving to step into their power. I see extraordinarily gifted younger teachers right now, just everywhere I turn, mostly women, but there are some guys out there as well, and they're just clear as glass. You know, they know what they're about 100%. And, you know, they don't have the teeter-totter that you and I might have been writing for decades, you know, to work through. Is this okay? Am I crazy? Is this right? You know, all that. They have none of that. That is not in their consciousness. They know what they're about. And, you know, those of us who are of the older generation and are, you know, helping to clear the field of the confusion and the intolerance and the hatred and fear and judgment and all the rest of it, you know, especially in America, may I say, my friends, you know, that's the tip of the iceberg right there. That's the tip of the spear, to my mind. You know, is being asked to really, you know, walk the talk like never before. It's very important, you know, that we be the inspiration and the example for other people to have hope and not give up hope, that there is a destiny to our planet and to our lives. And if we're paying attention, the synchronicities and the grace and the support will come flowing in.
It is really now a beautiful time for everyone to sort of be their truest self, and hopefully whatever happens in the next few months just propels us closer to that. I think we've done enough pain. I think we've proven we can do that.
Yeah. Have we all suffered enough?
I think
Yes.
we've all shown that we're not only can we suffer, but we can also endure. And even if there's been so much suffering, I definitely can't say we're all still here. That's for sure, we're not. But there's a lot of us who are and have endured and keep enduring. And I would like to see us walk into a lighter next few years, because it's really started in around 2010. I mean, people say 2012. I think it was 2010, like the precursor, the how do you say, the preamble before the 2012 stuff. And then from there it's just been this sort of I don't know, slow train wreck of impact. I mean, so many beautiful things, amazing things have happened, don't get me wrong, but it's been wrapped in a lot of stress and strain.
Yes.
For a lot of people, and I would say literally everybody. So I don't know anybody that has come out unscathed on some level.
Right.
But so it would be nice to walk into a little bit more lightness. Like, I think we've shown that we can do it. We can handle. We can face the pain. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. No, that's beautifully said. I'm just looking for something else to share here with you from my page. I mean, if we'll believe it and we'll hold to our faith that it's possible because we believe it, and it is a part of God's plan for all of us and for Mother Earth, then nothing and no one can stop it. That's my belief. It's just that, as we are tested, and sometimes we get overwhelmed or, genuinely wounded or frightened, etc. That's the very moment to deepen our faith, not to run from our faith.
Right. I wonder if you think about like your life 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Because we are about 10 years into this now, right? As far as like all the changes, if we look at 2013 or whatever being.
Well, 2012 definitely was a big deal.
Okay, so we're in the 11th year, right? We're in the 11th year of that. 12, is that right?
12.
I don't have any sense of time, but anyway, we're past. We're good. If we look back to that time, and what the hope was, it seems so naive. It was such a naive like idea of this sort of like, everyone thought 2012, that transition in 2012 was going to open up everything, and everything was just going to, we're moving into the fifth dimension. Do you remember? Yeah. And it was so, everyone was like, woohoo, let's go. And it came, and it came to a very sputtering, non-finale kind of event, I feel. But at the same time, there was definitely a shift, but things started to really just unravel.
Yes.
They just started unraveling, and it was incredible. And that was the year, I think it was in 2013, that I had the experience in Sedona, where I heard everything was going to change. That's what I heard for myself. I wasn't thinking about the whole world, but I knew everything was changing for me, and that I got the phrase, "This is the beginning of letting go of everything." Wow. That was what I was told. And I was like, holy moly, cannoli, that sounds ominous, and it just started like everything literally changed. My entire life changed. My location changed, my job changed, my career trajectory changed, my aspirations changed, everything shifted. Yeah. And I know that's true for so many people. And and maybe in more and lesser dramatic fashion for everyone that's involved. And it's just, I just think if we look back now 10 years ago, if we look from where we are now to 10 years ago, what do you feel has been your, I think I have continual takeaways, but what's your biggest takeaway now that we're a decade on, which doesn't even seem real to me, because it feels to me, and I'm not kidding, it feels to me like one long continuous day.
Wow. Well, that's
I
profound.
really feel like it has been one long experience.
Right.
I know there's been nights and days, and because I have evidence because I sleep and get up every day.
Yeah.
But I feel, because I remember so many of the important moments, so many of them that happened, but I remember them so clearly, and some of them were so painful, and some of them were so joyous, but it just feels like one long continuous, like a snowball rolling downhill, and I don't know that it's actually stopped yet.
Well, I think that's really, really true. And I can relate to a lot of that. And I mean, my life unraveled in 2013, living here in Ireland, because I hadn't registered with the government. And I've been driving
Yeah.
on a learner's permit. You remember all that. And I had to come in, with my hands up and get 60 letters of reference and a few things like that. So, it was when I really decided I did want to stay here, and
Yeah.
enough fooling around, whatever it took, I was going to do that. And I've done that. And I'm very grateful that I've done that. Like you're saying, my sense 100% is that we're preparing for, the biggest change in our lifetime. And, again, we'll see it in the outer world and politically and socially and economically in all those ways. But, why we're meeting in this way, talking about these things, life and love and Almighty God and Ram Dass and every other thing, is so we can help each other to continue to trust the truth as we can feel it in our hearts. To me, again, to come back to America's spiritual destiny, which is very dear to my heart, and Ireland has a very similar spiritual destiny and is created on the same sense of idealism and human worth and dignity and sovereignty and the value of freedom. They're both playing a really important role in the world's consciousness, not the only countries, but they are still working on, helping humanity turn this huge corner, which, my teachers have said we've tried and failed several other times, and so this is like the third go round, after Lemuria and Atlantis, for us to make this ascension happen. And what I've shared before from Patricia is it is happening, and we can see many signs of that, and it is going to happen. Nothing and no one can stop it this time, because of how far we have actually come in terms of healing our karma, if you like, the fall from grace, and taking responsibility for living more conscious lives. So yeah, I feel like I agree with you, my friend, the whole last decade, if not all of our lives, is getting us ready for this intense period of awakening, healing, and growth. And, there's no room on the fence. Everyone has got to pick a side and pick a belief system and see what that brings us. And, again, like we're having this wonderful conversation and, all these synchronicities, flowing into it. When you're working with the will of the universe, nothing can compare to it. And if you're not, you see it and sense it over and over again. That's the difference,
Well, you get so much resistance, and it's like trying to start a car that starts to go but fails, and then you turn it on, and and things can flow so much more easily, and so synchronicity, so much more synchronicity than
so I think
than
we
you
get
can
better.
ever imagine. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Sorry.
No, that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we get better at not resisting.
You know, it's true. There's a very nice guy here that didn't have, it wasn't one of those people I shoved down and, shoved water in their face.
Well, you're
but
looking after them. I'm sure you're exaggerating a little bit there. Yeah.
No. But he said to me, "What should I do when I'm here?" It's interesting because he's come to India, come to India for the first time. The thing about India is that it's really a destination of healing and a spiritual journey for so many people that come here. And there's people that'll try to come for years and they never can make it, and then finally they get here, and they say, well, you don't get to come to India until you're called, that kind of thing. Yeah. And so this guy said, what should I do? He's on a sort of healing journey. I don't know what's going on with him, but he was so glad to finally be here. And he said, what should I do? And I said, well, just whatever happens, just say yes. Whatever offer you're given, whatever opportunity you're given, whatever
yes.
Whatever someone says, come have some tea, say yes. Just do whatever, just keep, because that's the flow. And I said, as soon as we say no, it's just like improv. And I did improv for years, and it dawned on me some point, in my spiritual journey, that spirituality is just improv.
Yes.
And the more you say yes, the more you're open to the flow. You have a beautiful experience. It can be funny and exciting and refreshing and silly. But as soon as you put up that block, no, it stops it.
Right.
Just kills it dead. I don't know if anyone knows what improv is, an improv comedy. The whole premise is that it's built on the premise of anything that is said from between two actors. The one will say yes, and meaning I accept what you're saying and I'm going to add to it. And as long as you keep doing that, then you have somewhere to go. So if I say to Lou Martin, welcome to my ice cream shop.
I say yes, and it's great to be here.
But what would be a no? If welcome to my ice cream shop, and you say no.
No, you don't have an ice cream shop.
Yeah, where do you go from there?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it's just, and that's the way spirituality is.
My favorite improv joke is hi, mom. My favorite improv joke is hi, mom.
Hi, mom.
Yeah, that you've cast the person you're talking to, whoever they are,
Oh, that's funny.
Yes. Oh, I loved improv. It's a joy, but it's about trusting.
It's about trusting.
There will be a way for this to unravel. Just be attentive. Just be receptive.
Just be receptive to whatever it is. I find it in my psychic readings a lot with people, and they'll say, am I going to meet someone? And I'll say, yes, you're going to meet someone in 3 months. Well, I don't want him to have this, and I don't want him to be that. And I'm like, well, if the universe sends, I said, why don't you just, if you meet this guy that I'm describing, why don't you say yes? But I don't want, it's like, okay. So you can't say the universe didn't send you anybody, but because you're not open at all, and it has to be your way, then you never get the opportunity to discover something that might be the best thing that's ever happened to you. But you've already put so many no's on it that there's nowhere to go.
Well, and that's great. And this is Abraham, which is there aren't two forces in the universe. There's no law of distraction or a law of denial. There's no in the universe. Anything you put your attention to and you put your energy on it, you're asking for that.
That's right.
So ask for what you want. I want to meet, the perfect partner. Great. We'll work on that. I don't want to meet the kind of people I don't like any longer. That doesn't bring
That's right. Yeah. Why don't you call them in then? Yeah. Yes. Whenever I don't know if you know this, but this happens with women a lot. Women will be talking about somebody, probably gossiping, and then all of a sudden that person calls or showed up and they're like, oh, we summoned them,
Sure.
Yeah, well, you did.
Yes.
Because you put your attention on them.
Yes.
And the universe gave you them.
Yes. And the other one, like you're saying, there are no secrets in the universe.
No.
This is, you know, in America, the US is in the final degree of Capricorn for Pluto in this lifetime. You know, the 29th degree of Capricorn, and Pluto, it's, you know, America has returned in its birth chart to where it was when the Declaration of Independence was signed 240 some years ago. So these months leading up to this election is the last cleaning of Pluto and Capricorn is all about responsibility.
So what do you think how is that gonna look? What is that
Well,
gonna look like?
I will tell you, my friend, everywhere where there was black, it is going to be revealed. So
Yeah.
this is what Patricia has said to us. It's not that the world is getting worse. It can look like that, but it's actually we have the strength now and the faith now to let the darkness that's been there all along, to let it be revealed. Like you were talking about keeping our hearts open in hell by Ram Dass. We can keep our hearts open in hell and still love and forgive and ask God to help us make this meaningful and purposeful. That's the challenge and the invitation that I see. The other one, just learned this recently for all of us, is this is the Uranus return, and it's done this 4 times. This is the 4th time. So the first time was the American Revolution. The second time was the Civil War. The 3rd time was World War II. And so we're in that energy for the next few months here as well. So it is going to be quite lively for a lot of people. But that's because, you know, again, if people don't know what they don't know. And, you know, part of the whole programming of darkness into people's consciousness has been moving God out of people's lives and, you know, getting everyone, the family and people's gender identity and, you know, all sorts of interesting things, getting people to question everything that has been the basis of human life and human society for centuries. So I'm just saying, within this space, there will be a lot of people that are open to remember the truth, that are going to come out of this, you know, this spell that humanity's been walking through for a long time.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't even know. I don't dare even speculate on what how that will even manifest.
Well, this is what I want to share with you. I hear you. I'm not sure, nobody knows, but this is what I want to share with you. So what I did for the magazine that's coming out in October, which I'll send you a link. One of the most inspired things for me about America is the Gettysburg Address. You know, that along with the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. So I just want to share this with you here because it's so brief and so powerful, and it says so much about what the purpose of America is and how to fulfill that purpose. So may I read that for you?
Oh, of course, yeah,
okay,
for sure.
All right. So here's Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, November 19th, 1863. 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives, that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, and women who struggled here have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living rather, to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they here gave the last full measure of devotion, that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from the earth.
Powerful, powerful.
Incredibly powerful.
Mm.
I think that's a prayer.
That is a prayer.
You know, it's good to dust our prayers off in these trying times and find our core and help each other to remember what's important.
That's right. That's right. So vote. Have you voted?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
I voted already. I got my
Very good.
ballot. Yeah. Everyone register to vote. Voter.org. So just so you know.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's very important to cast your vote for what you believe, and we need to take those words into our hearts. And you know, why was this nation created? I'm saying this being the US, even though neither one of us who are talking are actually there. But why was it created? And part of that is to be a light to its people and a light to the world, you know, a light of hope.
Yeah.
So hopefully we don't throw that away.
I don't believe we will.
I don't think we will either. I think that I think people are rallying. I think
Yes.
we saw it in France, we saw it in the UK, and
yeah,
I think the light is
returning.
It's returning, and I hope the dismay of the last many years can finally fade into resolve, you know.
Yes.
And hope. Yeah.
Yes. My belief, honestly, is that people have been lied to so often that everyone's had to get very good at learning how to trust the truth and hear what is true and what isn't true, and be very discerning about that. And once you know, to me, that's one of the great skills of listening to something like that from Lincoln or Ram Dass's teachings or others, you know, the Bhagavad Gita, etc. You know, you just know the truth when you hear it, and it lights you up.
It lights you up. Yes.
Very so if you trust that, if you trust that, you'll be okay. Speak that, trust that, follow that.
I have an idea, and I ask you to do this every time, but would you lead us in like a prayer that you lead your daily prayer? Would that be something to do for you? Yeah.
Sure.
I think that would be beautiful.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Did you want to, were you, because I know that when you're on, you usually are on for an hour and a half. Is that usually your?
That's perfect if that suits you for the moment here.
No problem. So I think that we could conclude this conversation with a beautiful prayer led by our dear friend Lou Martin, who's thriving and doing well in Cork, Ireland. I have to ask you a question. Do you sing any Irish songs yet? Are you?
Yeah, wouldn't that be great? I mean, in Gaelic or just traditional? I can sing some Irish songs, yes.
Like Four Green Fields, do you sing that, or?
I sing Star of the County Down.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's one that's in my repertory. I'm learning Raglan Road, which is beautiful, and The Water is Wide. And
nice.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great Irish songs and just so much music. Country. It's
I was going to say there's so much music there. Yeah, that's amazing. So, and also maybe you can conclude with a song.
Okay, I'll have a think about that.
Yeah, okay. I'll leave it to you. I'll be quiet. Right. Please.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. No, that's okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay, so go ahead and close your eyes, turn within, take a deep breath. Father, Mother God, indwelling Holy Presence, Lord God Almighty, great and perfect Spirit of love and light, Krishna Priya, myself, and everyone gathered here, we recognize our oneness with you and in you, and we give ourselves to you as we understand you. as the love intelligence that governs the universe, the love and light of all that is as each of us. And we invite you to step more fully and completely into our lives this moment, this day. We ask you to guide us, to use us, to inspire us, empower us, uplift us, heal us, and help us to be the love and light of this world. Help us to touch the hearts and the souls of our brothers and sisters, and help us to be a light in this world that brings hope and inspiration and true change. Help humanity to know that we are surrounded by the angels, that Almighty God is in our hearts, there now forevermore, and that the illusions that no longer serve us are passing away. And in truth, we are free, we are free, we are free. For this and more than words will ever express, we give thanks. We let it be, it is so. And together we say, Amen, amen. Thank you. Well, an Irish spiritual song to finish up this beautiful session here. I thought about bringing my guitar out, but it's in the next room in the case. Yeah, you got me at the moment. I'm just so grateful for this group, and so grateful for all of you. And you know, I just want to give you all my love and all my thanks for creating this space and maintaining it, and knowing more and more people are going to be looking for these resources and these reminders of what we all know in our heart to be true, that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And if I can say one thing, trust your inspiration. If you want to do something or share something or create something or give something, let yourself be a fool for God, as I say, it's my official job description. Yeah. And even eat something. A friend is having a little bite over there. Good for you, dear. Yes. So I can't pull a song out of my hat here at the moment, Karen, but I'll get you one next
No,
time.
it's no problem. No problem.
Okay.
It's always a pleasure.
I should have brought my guitar in, then I could manage, but.
Oh, it's absolutely no problem.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, Lou, so much for your love, your light, your all those things.
My Eunice.
Your Eunice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, do you want me to run next door and get my guitar?
You can if you want to, or we can save it for another time. I'm 100%. I think the whole thing has been a blessing, so we can just call it
all right.
here.
We'll leave it there. We won't improve on perfection. All right.
All right.
Perfect. So much. Peace and blessings, everyone.
Peace and blessings, everyone. Thank you so much. Just so you know, next week we have Jim back. Or he's not gone, but I'm just saying Jim will be back next week. And Angie, did you have any announcements or no?
No real announcements. I know that Jim is getting the next class in order. We're as soon as it is set, we'll go ahead and get that information out to everybody.
All right. Well, that's perfect. I just had to open the door because my Kalu just came to go to sleep. My the dog that shows up every day here. So
I have a song.
You do have a song.
I do have a song. They just gave it to me. Yeah. So
all right, perfect.
Close your eyes, everyone. This is from Agape.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. Use me, oh God, I stand for you, and here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. I used to think God was the sun, God is the sun, and God so much more than the earth and the stars and all of creation. God is creator, all in all. God needs us to shine its light. God needs us to shine its light. God needs us to shine its light as me, as you. So use me, oh God, I stand for you. and here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. Peace and blessings.
Beautiful.
Peace and blessings. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you, everybody. Have a fantastic week, and we will see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel, all that good stuff. All right. Much love to everyone. Thank you, Lou.
Bye for now. Thanks again.
Bye-bye. Bye. I'm gonna end this on the, I don't know how to do this. I'm on my iPad. I know I've said it about 15 times, but it's true. How do I end it? Well, if I just close the room and end it, then it's over. So I think I'm going to do that. So goodbye to everyone. Much love to you all. And we'll see you next week.
Have a beautiful rest of your day and rest of your week.